but we've had a great response from everyone within the ICM, and we're doing our best to really make it happen. I mean, it would just be the most amazing thing for us to have it
Yeah.
here in South Africa. First time on the continent, and for us, it would be really important to be able to expose people that haven't been here, maybe haven't accessed some of our music, other than what they can already, to the continent, because there's a lot that people don't know about the continent, and this would create some serious access.
Hello, Cameron.
Hi, Petra, how are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Fine, thank you.
It's so lovely to talk to you. I'm so happy that I heard
Lovely
of you
to
and that
meet you.
new music South Africa, new music
Yeah.
essay. How do you say that?
New music essay, for short.
Okay.
But yes, and I can hear that you're also a South African.
Yes.
I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah. No, I'm South African as well. And this
Okay.
is why I'm also, wanting to highlight the music and art in South Africa as well,
Right.
because this platform is really about that, about talking to
Fantastic.
musicians all over the world. And of course, I know in South Africa, it's not too easy for you guys, to do your thing.
I think it's hard for everyone, especially at the moment. But yeah, we do have some great challenges here.
Yeah, it was Richard Koch who told me about you and the great work
Right.
you were doing. Yeah, and you are. Just tell me a little bit. How did you start this project?
Sure. Well, I mean, first and foremost, I'm a musician. I studied at Wits, and I did both classical and then specialized in jazz, mainly a saxophonist, and found myself just like all freelancers doing whatever one can do to create income streams. So I've been in full-time teaching jobs, and I've done some traveling with musical theater shows and orchestra stuff, and then I've been gigging on and off here in South Africa for a number of years, and then at just in February 2000 and well, it feels like ages ago, but I got back from a tour of Chicago the musical. In fact, we were in Linz in Austria. Not long before we got back to South Africa, and then of course COVID happened. But
What did you do in Linz?
So that was for Chicago the musical.
Oh, I see.
The international tour picked up. It started in New Zealand. It went to China, and then to South Africa again, and then back to China and Europe. A bit of well, not Europe. I mean, really just Germany and Austria. And that's what I've been doing for, I would say, up till February last year, sort of full time. But and then I have a small company that focuses on importing of musical instruments, specifically wind instruments made from plastic. So yeah, whatever comes my way, I get involved in, and really the new music SA journey started for me only in February of 2020. So I've only been, working with the organization now, what would that be, 18 or 19 months. And that all came about through a composer and musician and friend colleague whose name is Lucas Ligeti. And in fact, he's Austrian, and he's in Vienna at the moment. So you should link up with him as well.
Yes.
So, Lucas,
is this his sort of project, the New Music SA?
New Music SA is a board of 5 people at the moment, and then 2 of us are sort of not temporary, but part-time staff members since around February, and the organization has existed since 2003. So it's going on a while, and it's a non-profit company that was started really to support the practice of contemporary music making in South Africa. Formerly, it then became the South African section of the ISCM, the ISCM being International Society for Contemporary Music, whose origins also in Austria. And this organization is a worldwide organization that will turn 100 next year, and has yeah, I mean, seen the likes of so many composers come through it, and so there are all these sections, and every year they have this annual festival called the World New Music Days, and yeah, I mean, it's quite a big thing for contemporary music. I would liken it to the World Cup of contemporary music, and
Really?
uh, yeah, so it travels and it moves every year. Of course, with COVID, things have become quite complicated. But the reason I got involved with New Music SA was because Lucas, who is a board member and has been for the last while, said to me that they were researching the idea of hosting one of these World New Music Day festivals in South Africa. He had been asked to see if we could make it, if we could make it happen. And he got my colleague Ignacio Priego, who's based in Cairo, but has been in South Africa for 10 years and is Spanish. So we
Okay.
got a diverse team, and Ignacio has been working with them on seeing if this was researching the idea and seeing if it was possible. I then joined to help at that stage with fundraising to see if we're going to be able to do this. We then took part in a bid in June, July last year, and we won that bid. So we secured the bid, and we are underway with preparation as much as we can in these times. It's a mammoth task, but we've had a great response from everyone within the ICM, and we're doing our best to really make it happen. I mean, it would just be the most amazing thing for us to have it
Yeah.
here in South Africa. First time on the continent. And for us, it would be really important to be able to expose people that haven't been here, maybe haven't accessed some of our music, other than what they can already, to the continent, because there's a lot that people don't know about the continent, and this would create some serious access. So there's a big Pan-African, for us, focus. But we would also be, and I must say that we would also be honoring the composers of the past, those that have come through the ICM, and celebrating their centenary. So that's the story about those sort of New Music SA, ICM, and World New Music Days.
But now
Yeah.
this contemporary music, are we talking about a specific, like it's just contemporary composers, or is it a specific genre that we're talking about?
It's a fantastic question. It's a difficult one to answer because most people perceive new music to be the sort of niche, new classical art music. And even that in itself is difficult to define. If you look at the origins of this in being in Vienna, the likes of, I think it was Strauss II and Stockhausen and those, they gathered and don't quote me, but these are the kind of composers that were around at the time that whose pieces were being performed at this festival. So it has a very classical origin. And 100 years ago, this was the new music of the day. And so now we have this sort of this term called new music or contemporary music, and yeah, we associate it with the modern classical art music of the day. But really, if you look at the composers of the now and their influences are from the world, and not just from the classical music tradition. So it depends how you see it. And yes, we have an organization like the ICM, which is contemporary music, and then a section in each country or city. And our organization is called New Music South Africa. But it's important for us, especially for me, to say how, in fact, open it is to interpretation, and we welcome all sorts of musics. So everyone would define it a little different, and it can, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
simple.
But this
Yeah.
is, yeah, but I speak to a lot of conductors about this fact that, you know, people go to concerts and they want to hear what they know. You know, they want to hear these typical and these well-known classics.
Yeah.
And then I hear so many conductors now bringing in young, I say, or living composers, the work of living composers in these concerts, and they have to sort of ease the public in, you know, sort of bring it in, because the concert won't sell just on contemporary music or a contemporary, say, composer. But do you find that in South Africa as well, that people are so used to the same old, I say same old, but the same music?
100%. And I think with a lot of things, the issues that we face here, they're faced all over the world. But I think they are sort of increased in size because of our situation here in South Africa, and maybe through the borders. I mean, take the Johannesburg Philharmonic, for instance. It's just an orchestra that I know well because I grew up with it and played for it. I mean, on once or twice, um, and you know, we would see up and coming composers, and they would look at trying to program to support those composers, but also to educate the audience. And you're left with a lot of people with the same reaction. Those are not composers we know. We're only interested in, and so it's the duty of a lot of different people, the radio and the organizations like New Music SA and the orchestras and the universities and the colleges and the musicians and the composers themselves to bring these people into the community. And um, so yeah, in terms of what you said, it definitely does happen here, and it's happening everywhere, and in all the cities, and there are there are interesting things out there about how, you know, these artistic directors have curated at the leading orchestras, curated their programs, and thrown in these things very tastefully in places, and of course you could argue that that's one way of doing it or not. Some say, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. So it really is for me about bringing everything together. And I think orchestras are facing, I know they're really facing, and you know this, they're facing a tough time. Not all of them, but and I'm no expert on that at all. It's crazy, but I remember being at Wits and having all my composer friends and being in debates about how we get the local Johannesburg audience to buy into new music or compositions of now. Yeah.
Yeah, but what somebody also said, and I didn't, you never think of it that way, but Beethoven and Mozart and all those composers were contemporary composers at their time. You know,
Absolutely.
so that's also something that we should understand, that what we're hearing now will be classic in 100, 200 years' time.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's almost like there's an audience, an older audience, which one day won't be around, but that is very much focused on the classical period and don't realize what's come in between. But I think at that point, things exploded. I mean, and here we are with the internet and this information overload and influences from all over the place without even knowing or going or visiting. And so, yeah, it's interesting times, and I think there's a lot of partnering that needs to happen, and a lot of really focused and hard work that needs to go into preserving, but also educating, and this is one of the things we want to do. And in fact, we are collaborating with Richard and the Johannesburg Mozart Festival. This is one of the ways we can share our audiences, you know, and get us to learn a bit about each other, and support all the artists as well.
Yeah. And I spoke to during lockdown, I spoke to a young composer, and he said that he went to a school once, and for 2 or 3 days he spent with children who really didn't have any, young children who really didn't have any music background, and he did a very basic little composing workshop with them.
Yeah.
And he was amazed at what they came up with,
The
without
response,
having
yeah.
any music knowledge or studying composing.
Absolutely.
And this is what I'm also wishing is that people like you could go to schools and educate from there, because I think the children, we're very much stuck in the audiences and what the audiences want, but what we don't realize is that the children will be the future audiences. So
100%.
these composers that you are talking about, they will be heard, they could possibly be heard by the children that are now, say, age 10, 11, or whatever age they are. But that's the place I think we should start educating.
Absolutely. And I must say, I mean, New Music has always had an annual activity, a festival, um, and always a community outreach and a workshop situation. At one stage, it was a growing composers workshop. So, wherever this festival was hosted, all those professionals would be there, and they would be working with the students at that institution. But that's a very basic thing. And the thing is, it's capacity. I mean, we are the biggest now that we have been, and so yeah, having to fundraise just for the activities is a full-time job, especially in this climate. But then to produce them, and then to be able to find budget, to really support something like this, a program. And they exist, they do exist, they are out there. I mean, there are some amazing things happening in all the cities. And we lack is this cohesive, this thing, this strategy, or this group vision, and we need to work together. There are so many things happening, and we're really finding at the moment that it's very important to be working together. That's the only way we can make it happen. Of course, government can play a big role in this, and our donors can too. And the education system needs a great improvement. We don't want to get into that, but the potential is crazy, and so I really hope that we can find ways to make it work. But yeah, it's an overwhelming one because
yeah.
Yeah.
But talking about the education system, this is also something that I talk to artists about, and that is the fact that schools, the moment there are cuts, it's the arts departments and the music that has to go. And now we're sort of in a situation where it's just about maths and the sciences, and children are so sort of made aware that that's the most important subject, for you to go on to university or to, it's almost as if you don't have maths, then, there's no hope for you. But uh, how important is it not that we should also start teaching music in schools and art in schools so that children can have a way to express themselves, or or at least have the possibility to learn about art so that they could
Mm,
have the appreciation then again, as an
mm.
audience.
No, absolutely. I was just thinking, and never mind the effects of the pandemic on the industry. You know, when I started with my business partner at the time, thinking about bringing these instruments into the country, plastic instruments, which were all about um, making wind instruments, music, and more accessible to for this kind of issue. So now we're both teachers, and we start our business, and we set up some workshops, and we sell some instruments. Meantime, we handling the shipments and the orders and the fluctuating exchange rate. And we really are, but we're bringing these things in because we want to put them in schools. And at the end of the day, again, it's capacity and finances. And then we found ourselves in a situation where we've got the instruments, but do we have enough teachers? Because there aren't enough teachers. And so, and after a pandemic like this, I'm always hopeful, and it will get back to normal. But the situation is more dire than it ever has been, because a lot of those teachers, and there weren't many, are now faced with the circumstances where they either can't make money from their jobs, or having to change jobs, or yeah. So but yeah, there's a lot that needs to be done, and we also need government does play a huge role in focusing things, and providing the vision and the resources to bring these kinds of people together. There's a lot out there that's happening, and you see a lot of it on social media. You look at groups like Arm for the Arts, and all the things that have been in the news about the South African arts, and you just see the in some way the communication between government and the sector is suffering. There
Yeah.
isn't much of communication. So that's one of the big things that people like Sibugile and Goma are trying to uh, solve. She's now sitting and sleeping outside of the Department of Arts and Culture in Pretoria. So there's a
Really?
sit-in happening there, just like it happened at the National Arts Council, because the system is, yeah.
Yeah, because there are so many talents in South Africa, and there are so many projects, like you say, projects happening. And the more I speak to South Africans, the more I hear of all these wonderful things that's happening, and that people are supportive and businesses are supportive. So everybody wants that, but it needs to change on at government level.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, but there are lots of positives, and positives that have come out of a very negative situation,
Mm.
which is the artists coming together, and the power of social media and the internet to connect people. We've got a long way to go to get the internet to the communities, but those who have the privilege of access can connect, and we have workshops. And I mean, I was involved in all sorts of workshops, just receiving information, and what a privilege. So, um, but you know what? When we are running an organization like New Music SA, it's like this, because we have a lot on our plate, and we're also trying to, make ends meet outside of this, because this is not going to give give you enough salary. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So what I'm saying is, it's almost like tunnel vision, and we lack the resources and the capacity, the time to be able to go, this is what we can do. Let's come together. And but there is some stuff happening that's really positive.
Okay.
So let's hope.
So for this organization, if there are now, say, for instance, composers in South Africa, do you help them to get their work out or known about, or what do you do in South Africa for the composers, for example?
Sure. Sure. So we are a member-based organization, and we have a list of composer members and new music performer members as well. Um, I'm still getting to know the organization, but one of the things that a member can have access to is we do a call for scores. We do highlight a member's compositions, and then what happens is the ISCM every year will call from sections, will call for scores, submissions. And so by being a
Okay.
member of New Music SA, you're able to submit to, let's say, an annual call for scores by the ICM, and then eventually, perhaps, you have your piece premiered or even just performed at one of these festivals. Those are not the only benefits, but of course, every year we have a festival and we commission every year, and then I suppose just having membership means you have access to these kinds of events.
Oh, yeah.
Although at the moment, it's really not about access. We want it to be open to everyone. And we're sitting going, why can't an audience member be a member of New Music SA?
Oh, yeah.
But really, actually, yes, it's a composer new music organization. We might look at different levels of membership, but
Yeah.
what we're finding now is we just want to bring people together. We don't want to be this
Yeah.
insular, very closed off organization only for members. But those are some of the benefits. And in the next few years, if we can pull this thing off, it would be a great thing for our members, the creative economy as a whole. Just a phenomenal opportunity. So yeah, like I said, every year we have a festival. 2020 was the only year we didn't have a festival, like
Oh,
many
okay. Yeah.
organizations, but we
Mm.
managed to come through and find some a new vision and host a wonderful project called our Digital Indaba, which took place over a number of months through this year, and we gained new support from the likes of the Rupert Music Foundation, the National Arts Council, Arts and Culture Trust, and Nedbank, and also SAMRO, to host music business workshops, music composition workshops. We just produced that series in August. And now we sort of are wrapping up our 2021 activities, but fundraising for the next year, and also planning and trying to strategize about the big event in 2023. So
Yeah.
there's a lot going on.
But now, if say there's an orchestra outside South Africa, for example, and they want to access these, they want, say, to support composers in South Africa, is there a way that they can access these scores, or that they can access, or that they can connect with you in a way?
Yeah. It's definitely something that we've been thinking about, how to increase and create more opportunities for access. One of the ideas I was thinking of is an online resource center. There are so many archives, and there are different places that these kind of scores and AV material media is hosted. What we want to do is to try to bring them together. SAMRO has a great resource. There's another resource in Makanda that's been there for ages. So that's one idea. The other thing is, yes, they can access our works on YouTube, not our works, but our members' works.
Yeah.
They can access our concerts on Facebook and on YouTube. We're trying to organize that so that but there's heaps of material on our website. And then, of course, if they're interested in engaging more, other than just seeing and listening, then they can send us a submission, a contact, or WhatsApp us or Facebook us. We are here, and but we don't have anything formal set up for our international supporters. This is one of the things that's been on our mind, and is something we need to look into, especially going into this major international festival. But yes, and then of course the ISM itself, purely because we're a member or a section. Each section is like a hub for new music in those countries or those cities. Some countries have multiple sections, and and a composer would connect to a composer because the world is so small, and then
Oh,
they
yeah.
might get sent to the ICM. The ICM will say, well, these are the representatives for South African new music. That's how they can reach us. So they act like a sort of a satellite, a hub for new music. So that's another way that we can engage. And the ICM has been hosting what they call an international, I forget the full name, but basically like a satellite, an archive of digital material from all these sections
Oh, I
highlighted
see.
on their website. So they've also been doing great work in promoting, you know, their sections and their members' works from around the world.
Yeah. So but you are just South Africa, not Africa. This is
No,
just
we are just South
South
Africa.
Africa.
And
Okay.
currently, as far as I know, the only African section,
Okay.
which is something that we hope will change as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's difficult because
Mhm.
you need to have money to pay membership fees, and you need to raise that money, and so these are the kinds of things that we are looking at and trying to find ways to make it easier
Yeah.
and to really open things up to make things much more accessible for the West to Africa and vice versa.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
these contemporary composers, are they? Do you get a lot of, or is it, say, in African music? Is that something that there's as well? They know that you have composers that do some sort of traditional African music, or is it not the genre that you are interested in?
No, absolutely, certainly. And there have been some amazing concerts and festivals where indigenous music and indigenous music makers have been represented. And I mean, I know that just my knowledge of new music essay over the last years has always facilitated or commissioned for indigenous instruments or facilitated workshops. And I know of a number of programs. There are a couple festivals that concentrate on this thing in Cape Town. There's a wonderful department in Durban. There's the department in Grahamstown or Makanda. There are pockets, and it's certainly something we are interested in and really looking at promoting. We're hoping to host a Pan-African New Music Festival next year.
Okay, that's
The build up
interesting.
to this
Yeah.
major world festival. And that sort of says to people, wait, okay, Pan-Africa and new music. So what is Pan-African new music? And these are the kinds of things we just want it to be a meeting place of
Yeah.
contemporary music. And so, yeah, there are a number of traditional music makers that are members of New Music SA and other organizations that frequently collaborate in the new
Okay.
music spaces.
Mm. Now, this festival that's going to happen, so what would it be like? I mean, what is the
So,
program?
sure. So every year that festival provides the opportunity for all the sections to send representatives and to have their annual general meeting. And that also has a program of, as far as I'm aware, a number of sessions, work groups, like a conference set up, and so there's the formal ISCM part of the proceedings, and then there are other things happening in a conference style, and then we as the hosts organize something like 7 to 10 days of music to
Oh,
coincide
wow.
with
Mm.
this conference. And so some things are open to the members only. In terms of the AGM, let me not be, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the public event is the main event that happens, and that consists of workshops and concerts of numerous different things, from orchestral to chamber to choir to and I can't say too much because we haven't
Oh, okay.
sealed the deal yet.
Yeah,
But
but that's the That's the idea of what it is. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So this
And
will be a
just
festival
yeah.
that members of the public could buy a ticket to a performance. They might buy a pass to. They might come with the university. They might be interested more in the conference, research part of it. But we, as the hosts, have to host the delegates
Yeah.
and also feature these compositions and program the entire
Okay.
thing.
Yeah. It sounds so interesting. And I mean, I didn't even know of this existence of this project or this organization.
Yes.
And I'm so happy that that I know of it now. Um, and you say it's next year. What are the dates?
So it's 2023
Oh,
in November.
Oh yeah.
You see, what happened was we were asked to host in 2022, and then the pandemic happened.
Oh,
So,
okay.
as far as I know, um, Shanghai's festival, Shanghai Nanning, is due to host a festival, which was postponed from last year. And now what they've decided to do is to have two in one. So New Zealand was the next host, due to
Yeah.
host in 2021. They're now also hosting in the same year, but at different
Okay.
times. And I haven't checked if the China section has already happened. Forgive me, because it's been up
No,
and
no,
down.
no, no. That's
Um,
just an idea of
but
when it is. Yeah.
but then, so we essentially are looking at hosting in November 2023. So
Oh,
it's still a couple years off, of
yeah.
course, but
Yeah.
that time goes very quickly.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
and you've seen just through the course of this pandemic how 18 months has flown by,
I know.
but also gone a bit slow in terms of what we can do and what we can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, Cameron, there's somebody who wants to, I think, come Lily, come here, so, come here. I think Lily is very interested in your festival.
Hello, Lily. Oh,
She's
sweet
been
man.
crying. She's been
Uh,
crying at the
I
back here.
thought I thought I could hear her.
Yeah.
Oh, she's
So,
one.
but I
She's
think
so
she
cute.
wants to come to your festival.
Is she interested in new music?
She's interested in new South African music. Yeah.
That's good. You're training her well.
Yeah. um, no, but it's thank you so much for this wonderful talk and about this work. And are you doing? You saying about the instruments that you are bringing into the country, and you are trying to get that to children to play, to learn to
Yes.
play, and yeah.
Yeah.
And
So those. Yeah. No, sorry. Go for it.
now, I was just speaking to a flutist the other day, and she started playing on a penny flute. You know,
Yeah.
Irish
Penny
whistle.
whistle. Yeah.
A penny whistle. Yeah. It's originally the Irish whistle, isn't it? And it's
That's
we
right.
have it in
That's
South
right.
Africa as the
They were
penny.
brought in as
Yeah.
penny whistles.
Yeah. And she's now a flutist, but she started off playing the penny whistle or the Irish whistle. And now that you were saying about the instruments you're bringing in, you know, it's we have to get away from that idea that you have to start playing with a very expensive instrument.
Exactly.
You know, it's about making the music, and that's what I've heard from her. She's now playing about 50 flutes. That she just buys flutes from different countries and different traditional flutes, and she plays it. But if you think of it, she started off with this Irish whistle, and now she's a professional musician. So
it's
what
amazing.
you're
There are
doing,
so many flutes out there from different cultures. It's phenomenal. But yeah, that's exactly that's something that I know people have looked into here, is trying to develop the penny whistle ensembles. And there've been some great penny whistle artists and groups. For instance, the Lerole family. And I know that a group like Niaji Music is a great investment. Also, a non-profit that I worked with and for and played with, they did a lot of work in promoting penny whistle players and forming penny whistle groups at schools and whatever. So these are the kinds of gaps that we need to close.
Yeah.
So, but yes, the plastic instruments, the company that makes them are called Nouveau Instrumental, and they've taken the world by storm. They've been around for quite a while now. Well, I mean, I don't know, maybe eight years or so, but they've really taken the world by storm. And you'll see them in many different countries, and just not as many here. Although because of what we've been doing over the last 7 years, they have made an impact. We just would like it to go further. Now, it, I think what's happening now is our company that we set up to import these instruments looks to hand over that distribution, because for freelancers to run a company like that, we found it to be quite tough. But if you're a music retailer, it's another brand that you bring under your wing. So in essence, what we've done is we brought the brand here and we've sustained it and developed the market. And so, yeah, we are looking at trying to find someone to take over that distribution deal, but because we aren't distributing anymore. But we certainly are still very much, my company is very much associated with the instruments and are very proud, and we're still active here. So it's not as if we are ceasing completely on that front. But yeah, these instruments are not to take the place of the traditional instruments, but they do allow a smaller, sometimes a smaller, but and a younger age group to access these instruments. But I've had high school students sometimes who are not big enough for the saxophone or the flute, because the flute is long and quite heavy. The clarinet too. And so these provide the bridge, but they also give the opportunity to those who might have, I don't know, some kind of problem. I've had adult students using these instruments because they find one might be too heavy. So and then there are these half-size instruments which sort of fill the gap, for those who can't yet play the bigger instruments. And it's like the guitars and the string instruments, the violins and the violas and the cellos and the double basses. You get all the different sizes, but that never existed for wind instruments. And the same has happened with the brass instruments. The P trumpets took over. Plastic trumpets, plastic trombones, that also took the world by storm. Now, of course, there's so many brands making these things, but the ones that we've been bringing in are from Nouveau, and you'll see them all over the place because they're pink and green and blue and black and silver colored plastic. Yeah, so they're really cool.
Yeah. I think it's for a child to start playing the instruments, I think that's so cool to do it that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And being plastic, they're more durable and they are less difficult to maintain, and they break less easily, and they're cheaper.
Yeah.
So there are many advantages. But of course, people think because they're plastic that they must be really cheap. So these are some of the things we've had to try and work in educating people around. But
yeah. But Cameron, this was so lovely to talk to you, and
it's been fantastic. We've been in all sorts of angles.
Yes, I know. But it's so interesting. You do so many wonderful things there, and you please feel free anytime if you have a project that you would like to talk about or that you would like to raise awareness to. Then just let me know, and we can have a chat about that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Because I think it's the more we speak about these things, the more and that it's known what's happening around the world. That is so important. And you know, it's the idea of this platform is also for musicians to connect with each other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can always have a look if there may be somebody.
Well,
who do an
I quickly
interview with.
joined your YouTube group. Sorry, your Facebook group, and
Yeah.
I've subscribed on YouTube to see to join the community. And I'll definitely be promoting from my side. I think it's wonderful, and it's
Thank you.
fantastic stuff that you're doing, and we need more of it. And it's really generous of you to offer to do more. So I'll definitely be in touch.
Okay,
Thank
Cameron,
you.
have a lovely
It's been
day.
wonderful, Petra.
Yeah, and speak soon.
And you. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Keep well. Bye.
Bye.